The vanishing man in the fitting room, a well-lit clothing store, the hum of fluorescent lights overhead. The mall is quiet near closing time. Anne thought she had seen it all. Shoplifters stuffing jeans into backpacks, parents screaming at their kids to behave, even the occasional creep lurking too long. Nothing, nothing prepared her for that night. Anne, a young woman in her early 20s, is folding clothes, occasionally glancing toward the fitting rooms. It was a slow Tuesday evening, just an hour before closing. Anne was restocking a display when she saw him walk in. Late 40s, scruffy, wore a faded brown jacket that looked like it hadn't been washed in months. He carried a pile of clothes to the fitting room, his eyes darting around like he was looking for someone. "Hey, sir, let me know if you need a different size," she said, like she always did. He barely nodded and disappeared into the fitting room. A clock ticks. The fitting room area remains quiet. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Anne didn't hear a sound. No shuffling, no hangers clanking, just silence. That's when the unease settled in. She walked up to the row of stalls and knocked on the side of the curtain, the one he entered. "Sir, we're closing soon. Do you need any help?" Nothing. She knocked again, a little harder this time. "Sir?" Still no answer. Her stomach tightened. She had been near the entrance the whole time. She would have seen him leave. He had to still be in there. Anne glared at the fitting room the man had entered. With another soft knock, she pulled the curtain back. The stall was empty. I blinked, my mind scrambling for an explanation. I stepped inside, half expecting to find some kind of hidden exit, but there was nothing. 3 walls, no vents big enough for a person, no gaps under the stalls, no way out. I backed out slowly, my hands trembling as I checked the surrounding stalls. Empty. All of them. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might be sick. I rushed to the security office, dragging the manager with me. "We need to check the cameras, please." The footage showed everything. Him walking in, the exact moment I greeted him, him going into the fitting room, but then nothing. He never came out. We watched it over and over. The only thing the cameras caught after he went in was me pulling the curtain back. Alone. I felt cold, like something was pressing down on my chest. My manager tried to laugh it off, said the cameras must have glitched, but I saw it in his face. He was just as freaked out as I was. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Where did he go? How did he vanish without a trace? I lasted another month at that job before I quit. Not because of the weird customers or the long hours, but because sometimes, when I was closing alone at night, I swear I could hear it. The sound of hangers shuffling and clanking in the fitting room when no one was there. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. Please share with family and friends. The Mannequin That Bled, Seattle, Washington, 2023. Have you ever seen something that defied explanation? Something so disturbing that it made your stomach turn? Imagine working a late shift, alone in a dimly lit department store, only to realize that one of the mannequins is bleeding. That's exactly what happened to me in 2023. I was a seasonal employee at one of the oldest department stores in our city mall. The store had been around for decades, and with that came its fair share of weirdness. Flickering lights, old storage rooms that smelled like dust and mildew, and mannequins. Dozens of them scattered throughout the floors posed in eerie, unnatural positions. The mannequins in our store were unsettling. They weren't the cheap, faceless kind. These were detailed, too detailed. Their glassy eyes seemed to follow you. Their painted lips were slightly parted, almost as if they were about to whisper something. It became a running joke among the employees that they looked too human. I never really paid attention to them. That is, until the night I was closing alone. It was around 10:30 p.m. The store had been dead for the past hour, and I was going through my closing routine. The security gates were halfway down, the registers were counted, and the only thing left was a final walkthrough. That's when I noticed it. One of the mannequins in the front display had a stain on its hand, a dark, smeared streak running from its wrist to its fingertips. At first, I thought maybe a kid had touched it with something sticky, chocolate maybe. But as I stepped closer, I realized it was too dark, too thick. I pulled a tissue from my pocket and wiped at the stain. It smeared like blood. A chill crawled up my spine. The smell hit me next, that distinct metallic scent. I hesitated, then ran my finger over the crack in the mannequin's wrist. It was wet. I stumbled back, my breath catching in my throat. My first thought was that someone had played a prank. Maybe another employee. Maybe some weird customer. But as I inspected the mannequin closer, something was off. The wrist had a small fissure, a hairline crack, barely noticeable under the painted plastic. And from that crack, the blood was seeping. Real blood. I called my manager. I didn't know what else to do. When she arrived, I showed her the mannequin, expecting her to freak out. But instead, her face went pale. She reached out hesitantly, wiping at the stain with her own finger before smelling it. She knew. She smelled it too. But instead of calling security or reporting it, she whispered, "We're not supposed to talk about it." I stared at her, waiting for an explanation, but she just turned, walked back to the office, and made a single phone call. 20 minutes later, 2 men in suits arrived. They weren't cops. They weren't maintenance. They just took the mannequin. No questions. No forms. Nothing. The next morning when I clocked in, the mannequin was not there. There wasn't even an empty spot where it had been, like it had never existed. No one talked about it. Not the manager, not the employees, nothing. It was like an unspoken rule. Don't ask, don't say a word. I quit 2 weeks later. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was horribly wrong with that place. Months after I left, I heard a rumor. Years ago, before the store was renovated, a teenage girl had gone missing while shopping there. Security footage showed her entering, but never leaving. They searched for her for weeks, but her body was never found. Some employees whispered that she never left because she was still there, just in a different form. I don't know what I saw that night. I don't know what was inside that mannequin. But I do know one thing. It wasn't plastic. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. Please share with family and friends. The elevator that should never open. You ever get that feeling? That gut instinct telling you something isn't right? That was me, standing in front of an elevator that should have never opened. I used to work late shifts at a high-end mall in Miami, handling maintenance and security checks. It was mostly easy work, walking the halls, checking cameras, until one night I got a call about an elevator acting up in the older wing of the building. Employees said it kept stopping at the 3rd floor, doors opening, but no one was there. Thing is, the 3rd floor had been blocked and shut down for years. A special key is needed for the elevator to stop on the 3rd floor. I figured it was a wiring issue, nothing unusual. So I took the elevator up to check it out. Everything seemed normal. The ride was smooth, no weird noises. But just as I was about to hit the ground floor button, the elevator stopped and the doors slid open to the 3rd floor. I stepped out, shining my flashlight around the room. The place had been abandoned for years. Used to be an arcade and some offices. Now, just dust-covered floors, lots of old boxes, old shelving and broken signs. and was supposed to be abandoned. Then I heard it, a whisper. Help me. I froze. My throat went dry. I turned the light toward the sound, but there was nothing there, just darkness. Then, again, closer this time. Help me. I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. I just stood there listening. Then the sound changed. The whisper turned into something else. A slow, dragging sound. I turned to leave, but my flashlight flickered, and for a split second I saw it, a shape at the end of the hall, just standing there, not moving. I bolted. My feet barely touched the ground as I sprinted back to the elevator, slamming the button over and over, begging the damn doors to close. At the last second, just as the doors slid shut, I saw it again, closer this time. I didn't breathe until I was back on the first floor. I stumbled out, my legs weak. I must have looked pale because one of the janitors saw me and asked if I was okay. I told him what happened. His face went blank. Then he shook his head and muttered, "You took that elevator?" I never used that elevator again. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. Please share with family and friends.